Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Die.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Die Podcast. I am your host, Mual. In here with Dre. AJ's on the way. I see you out too. See you, Rob. What's up, player? Let's get the administrative items out of the way. Kevin Sheehan is going to be joining us in about 30 so minutes. If you don't know Kevin, obviously radio host, local radio host, Team 980, Kevin Sheehan Show. And he has the podcast, Kevin Sheehan Podcast as well. So he's going to be checking in. I told him, Dre, I was like, look, Jaden made the whole conversation easy. I feel like that's all we're gonna be talking about. Talking about that offense. Why we got to talk about the defense for?
Well, I want to talk about the defense.
Yeah, it ain't nothing else to talk about. But he's gonna be joining us, so we're gonna have some insight for him and get his perspective on how things are unfolding at this point of the season. If you are new to the YouTube side, man, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We'll always hit the like button. You know what I'm saying? If you want that YouTube side, but if you're new, hit the subscribe button. We definitely appreciate that. Same thing on the audio side. If you are just checking us out, man, make sure you hit that follow button, but hit us with a rating review if you can. Let us know how you feeling about the show, man. Things we can improve. 5 stars, of course. Or tell us what you like about the show. Things like that. Film session. Where in the world did my wow. All right, I'll worry about that later. Film session is coming out Thursday. On the offense, maybe tomorrow. It was I was pretty efficient with that one, so maybe tomorrow. I don't know. But film session on the offense and the things that Jaden worked on, or gotten better from a week to week standpoint. That's gonna be coming out soon too. So be on the lookout for that. Fellas, what's going on, man? How y'all feeling, bro? Y'all still on that high? That Monday night high?
Hey, we ain't getting off this till later in the week.
What's going on, AJ?
Just cooling, man. I don't think I was on the high.
Come on, AJ.
Next game. I don't know. I mean, that's just never been me, bro. I like if it was a playoff game, yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was a great performance. But I ain't on no high. I ain't about to be
So
like,
this
oh
business
my
as usual
god.
for you, huh?
I mean, it's just like not a usual, but at the end of the day, I'm just excited about his performance. But of course, like I'm the type of person where I'm just looking at things overall. Like you got an offense that's been uh productive in a sense of now taking advantage of their red zone opportunities, but then you got a defense that can't stop nobody. It's like it's a bad marriage in a sense. So it's just it's a bit interesting to see how it's all going to play out as the games continue on.
I think that's fair. I mean, I first off, anybody that's listening, there are plenty of people out there that's like AJ's will. But if you are excited, Al too said today was a fun day. I get it. I think honestly, like the feedback, I think the more satisfying thing, I'm sure, like if you look at it from a fan's lens, for those that's listening, I'm sure it's just hearing, especially when you went on prime time, is hearing the national media commentary on your team. With that being said, I probably want to go look at First Take. I didn't listen to it. I didn't watch it. I would love to see what they have to say. I did see a clip floating around saying that Joe Burrow lost the game or something, or he didn't do enough. That was from Shannon Sharp.
That shit.
Yeah, so I didn't even play that one, but I saved it, so I didn't even get a chance to hear that. The thing with me, I mean, it don't even matter. Well, I don't give a damn about that. But that's probably the most satisfying thing is hearing from the national media and their perspective. Especially with a team that's really trying to turn things around, and I think they got a couple good pieces in place from a coaching manager side and even at quarterback. So fellas, I don't know. Look, Monday night is a quick turnaround to see if you all had a chance to watch the tape or watch anything specifically back, or even I know Dan Quinn had a presser. It was going on while I was at the gym. So if you all heard it or seen some quotes, please fill us in over here.
I didn't hear.
Okay.
I mean, I heard the presser. It wasn't informative by any
Okay.
means.
Did he say anything about Austin Eckler?
He said Austin Eckler has a laceration on his ear. Flew back to Ashburn. Is in concussion protocol. Hasn't determined officially if he's out for the game, but I mean, typically nowadays, anyone that goes in concussion protocol typically misses that one game at least at minimum.
Okay.
Excuse me.
And I just wanted to say,
Excuse
Maul,
me.
I wanted to add on to the conversation we were just having. And that for me, I think the most exciting thing, I'm not even worried too much about the wins and losses going forward. I mean, to me, this whole season was never about the wins and losses. But the wins right now is a bonus, and that feels good. But I think the most important thing is realizing that you might have a guy at quarterback, and this sets you up for years. So regardless of what the defense may be right now, I mean, we're hopeful that we got the most important position in sports right now, kind of solved or fixed. I mean, I know it's still a long way to go, and Jaden still has a lot of things to clean up, but the hope he gave you last night, and I mean, not even just last night, he built last night on what he's already shown us last night, which is special and spectacular, but he's given us the hope that going forward for years, we may always be in this conversation. And that's where I'm at right now. That's how I feel.
So let's ask this question then. This is actually something that I put in the notes, so let's kind of knock that one out based on Jaden's game. Like how would you how does that sink in your memory in terms of just like impressions or performances from a quarterback? And this doesn't have to be like I mean, Super Bowls are Super Bowls. Y'all are older, I'm the young one. Y'all old enough. Y'all was probably like 25 when they won in 91. But game wise and performance wise, like where does that one rank for you all? Not even expecting it to be super high, but like where is it? Like where is it for you all?
I mean, I think for me, last night was the top 3 in my lifetime.
Okay.
Well, I guess where I fully knew exactly what I was watching, like I could dissect plays and stuff. 87 baby. My first words ever was during a Redskins Super Bowl. saying touchdown. So of course, those were moments where they were still competing for championships and winning those. But as far as like me being able to fully understand the game in and out and being able to have conversation with other people that are fans of the team or opposing team, this was a top 3 quarterback performance. The other 2 came from RG3. That would be his rookie debut game, New Orleans Saints. Um,
Then Dallas.
Thanksgiving game against Dallas. Like at the time I was with a young lady who I had been in a long relationship with. They had Thanksgiving. It was my first Thanksgiving with their family, and most of her family were Cowboys fans. Boy, did I get under their skin that day. So that felt amazing, because like you said, Maul, from a national perspective, people are talking about your team. They're talking about a key figure of your team. You now have moved into a different tier of having a national superstar. You feel me? It's been very rare to be a Washington fan and have one of those guys. Even in Sean Taylor's days before passing away, he wasn't necessarily viewed as a superstar. I think that more so happened after his passing, unfortunately. But the last one you could really like count on is Clem Portis. But that's a running back position. To have a superstar quarterback, to build on that RG3, those days, it brings a lot of attention to the DMV area, a lot of excitement to the fan base. Um, Marketing, you get so many more opportunities. You get further opportunities to be in primetime games like Monday night, Thursday night football. You now got Black Friday games, all these different things. So those doors will continue to open, and with the flexibility that the NFL schedule now brings, you can see some of these games get flexed. I was hoping maybe the Baltimore game would be a little bit later in the season to get flexed, because I think that's a prime matchup. Lamar Jackson versus Jaden Daniels. You also get Caleb Williams versus Jaden Daniels. But I think Dallas. They played Dallas in October or November the first time.
I think it's November.
Okay, because I know they finished the year off in Dallas. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man.
Yeah, November 24th. Oh, that's the B-Day. Damn, okay.
Wow. But no, and AJ, I was actually thinking about that earlier. I was like, I know the NFL kind of regrets, not having Washington on more primetime games this season, because I think that was our, big primetime game. I don't know if we have any others. The rest would have to get flexed. But as far as where this game ranks for me in watching the quarterback history, and I'm with AJ on the fact that it's since I've been dissecting and kind of getting to know it, even though I can go earlier when I wasn't dissecting, we still didn't have any great quarterback performances that make you feel good. But this has to be like in my top 4. And with the other ones being RG3's rookie year.
Why y'all be creating these random ass numbers of tops?
Hey,
what
reason
is
why I'm saying
4?
So top 4 for me, AJ. Reason why I'm saying
why
top 4
not just get top 5?
No,
top 3?
well, because I can't think of any game. It's 3 games of RG3's rookie year that really stands out to me. Obviously, the 2 that you named, but then it was the Philadelphia game. The Philadelphia game where he went crazy. He had a perfect quarterback rating in that game against Philadelphia, and he looked like he could do no wrong in that game. So I mean,
remember the Philly game.
I mean, he was like 14.
That's the John with Tanner.
Yeah, I think Tanner.
Is it that one, right?
I think he caught it in double coverage on one.
Yeah.
But he threw like 4 touchdowns in the game, and he had a perfect quarterback rate. So I mean, that was his rookie year. Obviously, that was in my top 3. So I had 3 of those performances. But now Jaden just kind of goes in there, even though I'm going to put Jaden ahead a couple of them. He's probably tied with RG3 for that New Orleans game, and it's just because of how you feel walking away from the game. Again, as I mentioned earlier, this gives you that hope. Like, this is that guy. Like, maybe we do. We watch so many other franchises put these guys out there. So many other franchises have these guys that we've watched jealously for years. And then when you see it, and then you see the reaction to it, you see people talking about it. I mean, I'm seeing people. It's funny because, all you got to do is search Caleb Williams' name after that game. People already, yes, Jaden Daniels is way better than Caleb. I'm not going into those conversations because I think that's kind of ridiculous.
They were saying worse than that.
Yeah,
they even said they've gotten to the point where they said, imagine if Caleb Williams had as much help as Jaden Daniels has.
And I've been seeing that too, Maul. And
the narrative has flipped.
That conversation is annoying. And like I said, because the whole conversation, even Bears fans was teasing the hell out of Commanders fans all off season. Oh man, be good luck with that offensive line. Now I'm looking at the narratives and the comments, going, man, I wish he had Jaden's offensive line. And I'm like, oh, that's a really funny flip now, because we talked about it on the show, the Bears situation, how we wish Jaden had the Bears situation and this, that, and the third. And now you got Bears fans saying, man, no, Washington had the perfect situation, but nobody said that before. But anyway, I mean, the whole point is that's the type of conversations that Jaden is kind of drawing up when you go out there and have that type of special performance on the Monday Night Football. So, I mean, it just gives you that hope, and automatically, and it's sad, but I mean, at the same time, I'm happy and we're looking forward to things. It's sad that this is already in my top 2 of top quarterback performances I've watched in my lifetime. But hey, I ain't mad about it because I'm just happy of what we get to watch going forward with Jada's progression.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a ranking, bro. I think about games like he's up there. Like I think about games. Somebody actually said one that I was thinking about in the chat. Larry said the Brunel game against Jacksonville is one that I think about on a short list, right? Where Santana had the 3 touchdowns. I think about RG3s, the ones that you already mentioned. So I'm not even going to repeat those. I think about Kirk Cousins' game against Tampa Bay when they went down 24-0. I think about the Kirk Cousins game against Green Bay Sunday Night Football. I think about that one. I think about the one against Dallas, bro, 2016. But that was a losing effort. So you don't really count. You don't count the L's. So to hell with that. But he's up there with a lot of those games. But that's such a short list because think about even the ones that we just mentioned. That's 3 or 4. That's 3-4 different quarterbacks, bro. That's not even you can't even go down the list and say the RG3 game or the XYZ quarterback over an extended period of years. Only one you get close to is Kirk, and Kirk was here only for 4 years. So I think with Jaden, I think this is a unique situation because he's done some things offensively from an offensive production standpoint, led by Jaden is what I should say. The last 2 games is something where I think there's a historical record where there's only 4 quarterbacks who has had no, I'm probably going to say this wrong. There was 4 quarterbacks, Peyton, Pat Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, and I think another person, where they've only had a combined in their career two games or 2 times where they've gone without punting in a game, right? 2 consecutive games. I got to look for the number. But anyway, Jaden has 2 in his first 3 games, whereas those 4 have only 2. I'm gonna look for that number because I just butchered the shit out of the stat. But my point in even bringing it up is the efficiency part. I'm gonna transition to since we got about 10, 12 minutes before Kevin gets on. The game itself, bruh, even watching that on film was boy, I was smiling, bruh. I was like, son, I don't even got I ain't even in the film session. I didn't even point to the fact that he the certain reads that he missed, the ones that I nitpicked before, and I said I just want him to get better in these aspects because in the game he did miss those as the game went on. And on top of that, he was, and it's not the fact that he was even having these small little misses here and there early on. Throughout the game, he was consistently good at keeping his eyes downfield. He was consistently good at anticipating throws. He was consistently good at pre-snap and post-snap diagnosing. Him and Cliff Kingsbury, specifically in Cincinnati, and I think they had a good situation against New York as well. Those 2, that dynamic, those 2 were on fire together, and I think that's the thing that is bro, how long can they keep this up? I would love to know. I would love to see where this takes them, because if you can get in a situation where you're on a 6 game, never mind like who's the actual opponents. I'm just saying, like, if you can get on a 6-game win streak because y'all can't be stopped offensively, like y'all averaging 30 points a game because y'all two are that locked in, and Jaden is that dynamic as a quarterback, bro. That sets the tone for something completely different in Washington D.C. And like that's what I'm interested in now. Like, never mind the shit that he's been missing, because he's shown in this game. It's just a matter of time until the things that was on tape starts connecting, and look at how explosive the offense is when he does connect. And he's shown also how he can really make people pay so long as he actually does keep his eyes downfield and he does find these guys and he does throw within time and rhythm, and he doesn't hold back. He actually pulls the trigger. Like, that shit is deadly, bro. And I think that's why I'm so proud of like what I saw on Monday night, because he put the league on notice, but he also shown what he was capable of if Cliff and Jaden are both playing at a high are both performing at a high level at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I took away from watching the game back and looking at the film was how much like connected play calling goes a long way in the NFL or just in any sport, or particularly football. Like, once you get into your groove, you catch a rhythm, you create that tempo, whatever the case is, you can continue to build on that. In the prior 2 weeks, versus the Buccaneers and the Giants, there were a lot of negative plays, which slowed down the momentum and the tempo which they really want to go at. And it also felt like some of the, I guess you could say, what is it, training wheels that you put on a little kid's bike, they kind of took that off going into this Monday night matchup. Like, you seen more opportunities downfield look wise. He was able to capitalize on some he wasn't. But the fact of just gaining positive yards, whether it be 1-2 yards, 3 yards here, 4 yards there, like that kept them in front of the sticks and being able to call certain things and get into a groove. Um, the first 2 games they started off with screenplays, and then the second down was either like 2nd and 20 or 2nd and 17. It's kind of hard to create that momentum going into the rest of the game. But when they started off their first drive, everything was positive. They were doing certain things. They came out in the two back formation with Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler. Gave Eckler the ball, had him in the running game, also had him in the passing game. Yeah, you just seen Cliff like really be able to get in his bag, just due to the fact of gaining these positive yards and not having the setbacks and losing yards or penalties and things of that nature. So yeah, it just really grooved and gelled pretty well. And I touched on it a little bit last night in the post game show. Continuity, like you're seeing the fact that Cliff Kingsbury is now getting familiar with the passing game coordinator Brian Johnson more, Anthony Lynn, the run game coordinator more, Tavia, the quarterbacks coach, and also the players, Jaden Daniels, the wide receivers, the offensive line. You're seeing continuity within the week 3 game of how they can continue to build on these things and truly hit a groove and understanding what you truly have when they're on the field, whether it be Ben Sinnott in the passing game or the run blocking game. He's kind of taken over that role for John Bates. He's not really necessarily getting a lot of those snaps that he used to that we're familiar with. Is now Sinnott in those positions. You're seeing things with Noah Brown, Luke McCaffrey, Terry McLaurin, even Diami got involved in a screenplay where he was able to be productive and help them gain positive yards to put them in position to have a shorter 3rd and 4th down. Like, yeah, like you're seeing that familiarity build there, and that's something that should get fans excited on the offensive side of the ball, because there's going to be more opportunities and more plays to be made once they truly understand what they have. But it also allows Jaden to be comfortable in seeing the game and taking certain reads and feeling comfortable with doing certain things down the field. I mean, I don't think if you don't have week 1 or week 2 happen, I don't think you see Jaden hit on those deep passes to Terry McLaurin Like, I think it's all trust and all becoming comfortable with one another.
Yeah, and for me, it's the layering. And I've been looking at how Cliff has called the games. Cliff was catching some heat for the first 2 games for a lot of the behind the line of scrimmage plays. And I think I said before, a lot of that is going to set up stuff later. And I think that's what they kind of set this up for this game. As you can see, they were looking for those downfield shots. And as Mual alluded to, you can see Jaden's progression in this game. He's getting better. He's understanding more things. But game by game, you can see Jaden kind of working on weaknesses that were questioned the week before. And as a basketball fan, this is, and this is why I'm so happy too. This is what reminds me of Jaden. Reminds me of a really good, really great floor general. Watching him last night, he was like a floor general out there directing people. He was so much in command of the offense. He's getting guys in certain positions. He's spreading the ball out. He's getting so many different targets. I mean, I don't know how many different targets we hit last night, but one guy I do want to see get involved, and I think that's going to happen because I think Jaden missed him at one point last night, was Ben Sinnott. I do think Ben Sinnott's going to start getting involved in the game. But again, Jaden just kind of spreading the ball out. You're getting the backs, you're getting the tight ends, you're getting the wide receivers involved. Like all of the wide receivers pretty much out there were getting, targets, and they were getting their share, and they were looking good. And Cliff, like you said, Mo, he's in sync with Jaden right now. Like right now, he's so confident in Jaden, and Jaden is just kind of rolling with it, and he's having fun out there. I love to see the smile. I love to see the big play, the big celebrations after plays. So, I mean, last night, like I said, it was just everything you wanted to see in his progression. And the scary thing about it is you still feel like there's more meat on the bone for him to go out there and attack going forward.
We can talk about Jaden all day. And we got some more to talk about. And before we do that, and before we talk with Kevin Sheehan, who's going to be joining up in a second, let's hear a word from Underdog Fantasy right quick. Here we go. All right, let's take a break from the show right quick. And let me tell you something about Underdog Fantasy. It is the greatest time of the year. Again, football is back and it's here to stay till February. Over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog. Went up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite players' stats, such as touchdowns, passing yards, and more. Look, man, I love Underdog Fantasy. The sign-up process is smooth. They have a really slick mobile app, and it's the entertainment I've been looking for. I love me a good fantasy contest. I'm a competitive dude. Y'all know it. So sign me up 10 times out of 10. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward, and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with promo code TRAPPERDIVE, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code TRAPPERDIVE, to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. So what's the limit for? Actually, let me ask this question. And this will be the last one, assuming we do we got a hard stop on the questions. What's the ceiling for this offense right now? And as I asked that, let me actually pull it up and see where they rank just on their baseline stats. But what do you think the ceiling is for this offense? Is this like a top? Oh, all right. So right now they currently rank 6th in yards. They're the 6th best offense and 5th in points after a 38-point game against the Bengals. So this is a top 10 offense already, top 5 offense or top 6 offense, however you want to slice it. But what's the ceiling, man? Like how far can this offense take these guys?
Right now, Maul, I mean, honestly, I don't even know if it's about the ceiling. It's about sustainability at this point. Like, I wonder if they can sustain where they are at right now, because they are higher than we all thought they would be. I mean, you asked us all before the season, what side of the ball is going to be the side that they lean on? We all would have said the defense. I think we all did say the defense before the season.
Yes.
But it's clearly the offense at this point by a long shot, and they're exceeding any expectation we had of them at this point. So at this
Did y'all
point,
hear John Allen after the game, bro?
I didn't hear him. Was he talking?
He said, "No. He depends on how you look at it, but he was like, man, I'm sure glad the offense carried us today because we played like some ass
all season."
I'm like, well, buddy, like, do you want the honest answer, or you want like a be direct because
Right. But no, I mean, them guys are going to have to pick
bro.
it up. They're going to have to pick it up because, again, like I said, I think we're talking about sustainability at this point. Like, no, I don't know if we expected a top 10 offense, at least not out of the gate for these guys. But at this point, if we are looking at a ceiling, I mean, they probably could reach top 5 at this point, if they can sustain this thing because they're moving the ball efficiently. I mean, they're not turning the ball over. I mean, I'm sure at some point that's going to change. You're not going to go a whole season, without turning the ball over. But right now, the offense looks so efficient. It looks, Jaden looks tough to stop. So the question is going to be when, because Cliff has had this tendency, for me studying Cliff from watching him throughout college and even with Arizona, some of his teams kind of tend to trail off, towards the end of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see when defensive coordinators start getting better game tape on these guys and start to come up with better game plans. How does Cliff adjust the offense? How does Jaden adjust? And we haven't even really seen Jaden in any real adversity yet, as far as like any bad things happening. Everything's been going so well for him so far. It's like, how does he handle adversity when it comes? So those are questions that may have to be answered later. So I guess that's what comes into the sustainability. But I do think that as of right now, these guys can maintain and sustain a top 10 offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm right there with Dre as far as the sustainability. I'm not really one to pay too much attention to where you rank total offense. Just score some damn points, on a regular basis. Like take the week before when you're going against the Giants and you have 7 visits in the red zone, you have 0 touchdowns. Do I care about how many yards you accumulated in that game? Hell no. Like you had to rely on a brand new kicker to win you that game. Like from an offensive standpoint, if you provided the same, results that you did in this week's game last week, it's not even remotely close with the Giants. But that's the main thing I'm concerned about is just getting touchdowns, whether that be in the running game, passing game, just score points. So I guess if I had to focus on necessarily a statistic to pinpoint to being premier at is total points. I don't care about the yards, whatever, just score some damn points. I'm not really concerned about like Jaden facing adversity. I think that he is who he is, high or low. He's just cool, calm, and collected. LL Cool J. Like I'm gonna keep pinning. That's just who he is. I just want to see Cliff evolve his offense each week. I think you would want to see him increase how much motion is there, moving guys around. It was one of the very few times where Terry switched sides. He got a touchdown when he did switch. Listening to his players and what they're saying out there during games and just being flexible. I think those are the main things that I want to pay attention to as the season continues to grow. And yeah, just overall evolving this offense week in and week out, kind of knowing what your template is, but building around it.
Yeah, I think you all said a lot that I agree with. The sustainability is the most important part. I'm interested to see what adversity looks like, but I also am kind of biased. I think we all are, but like we kind of understand what Jaden has been through to understand like he's capable of bouncing back like when he does see some adversity. With all that being said, let's go ahead and bring in Kevin Sheehan. Kevin, like I said, if you all don't know Kevin, you should if you're local. He's the host of the Kevin Sheehan Show on the Team 980, but also has the Kevin Sheehan podcast as well. Let's welcome the big dog back to the show. What's going on, Kevin? Appreciate you joining us, boss man.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Hey, Kev, what's going on?
We're good, man. Everything is good over here. I know. I'm sure you had a hell of a show today. I was able to listen to the podcast side, but not the radio side. I think for one thing, if I'm not mistaken, I think your background was marketing or something. I think you always said it was marketing or something in advertising. And if I'm not mistaken, so I'm an auditor in my day job. and sometimes that we have to require like an elevator pitch. So like that 30-second to a minute type
Right.
of a deal of like what exactly our audit focus is, right? And if I was to ask you to do an elevator pitch on this Washington Commanders team 3 games into the season, so we're not going to hold too much weight on it, but 3 games into the season, your elevator pitch on what this team is right now, how would you give us that pitch?
Wow. Well, in the NFL, you need an owner. They have one finally. You need a front office that can pick players. It seems like they have one. You need a coaching staff that with experience and leadership capabilities. Dan Quinn seems to have assembled one of those. And you have to have a quarterback. And through 3 games, it looks like they got one. So the future is bright. We're cheap right now. We're selling shares for, right now, cents on the dollar. So come on in, because in 2 years, 3 years, your investment's going to be worth a lot of money. Was that 30 seconds?
Hey, it was a perfectly timed pitch, man. And I think with last night's game, Kevin, he put on the show. I said that the Cincinnati Bengals got baptized in the Jaden Daniels experience. What was like your immediate takeaway? Like, as soon as the 000s hit, because that's kind of when all of the adrenaline is in everybody's system. What was those raw emotions after the game? But then as even time went on, as you started to record your shows and you got ready for your daytime radio show, but like, what was kind of the consensus or your feeling with where the team stands for the rest of the season, but also where Jaden is in terms of his development?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that, for me, it's just hard. I mean, not to be like my very good friend Doc Walker, but it's like I'm living in the moment. I want to win the game this week. And there's been so much discussion about building blocks and the future. And it's okay if we go 7-10 as long as, everything looks like the arrow's pointing up. That's all well and good. And if we get to the end of the season and they're 7-10, we can look each other in the face and say, yeah, but Jaden looks like the right guy. Adam Peters picked some good players. And Dan Quinn looks like he's assembled a good staff. But every NFL season is its own entity. And you just, in this league, you don't know what's happening week to week. And there's no reason why, if Jaden isn't the real deal right now, we can't have a season this year. Defensively, I'm concerned through 3 games, justifiably so. But they have what you need to win more games than less games. Maybe not win the Super Bowl, but right now, I don't want to hear about 25-26. They got the Cardinals to get to 3-1, and maybe by the time we get to the end of Sunday, sole possession of first place in the NFC nearly a quarter through the season. I have a real belief in Jaden based on what he did at LSU, but you never know until you see it at the pro level. But there's something about him. Skill set is totally tailor-made for the NFL, right? The skills, the talent, you saw that at LSU. What we didn't know is all the intangible stuff. And we're starting to learn that he is a worker. He's an excellent teammate. He has the football IQ. He's got all the stuff, potentially that separates guys with talent and skill that end up being okay from those that end up being a lot better than that. And so I'm excited about right now. Like, I can deal with 25 when we get to the offseason in late January, February, March, and we start looking at free agency and the draft. But for the first time in a long time, we get to maybe enjoy an actual season instead of talking about the next one.
Kevin, with everything that you just said, and I'm right there with you. I'm into right now versus building blocks for the future, especially when you see teams like the San Francisco 49ers losing guys left and right, Chris McCaffrey, Achilles, Javon Hargrave, Deebo Samuel, and so on. You have to kind of strike when the rod is hot. After watching this team and now further getting, conviction of your quarterback in Jaden Daniels, we've heard some rumors about the wide receiver room, and Washington being one of those possible teams acquiring a wide receiver in the trade deadline. Names has been thrown out: Amari Cooper, Deontay Johnson, Devontae Adams. Would you, if you had, Adam Peters' job, role, salary, different responsibilities, would you want to add an additional wide receiver to go with, Terry McLaurin, Luke McCaffrey, and the rest of these guys?
I mean, it is a bit early for that, and I need to know what the compensation and the cost is for it. I was all in on the idea that if Adam Peters liked Brandon Ayuk, based on him knowing Brandon Ayuk, I think Brandon Ayuk's, a high level talent. And the idea of just having one, and Terry's a good receiver. He's not in that elite level, but he's a really good receiver. But adding another really good one to a potentially, higher level one for a young quarterback would have been beneficial. But I'm kind of excited about McCaffrey. I think the addition of Noah Brown looks really good right now. You can tell that Jaden's developing some chemistry with him. Separation-wise, I think McCaffrey and Noah Brown may get the best separation of any of the receivers on the team. And look, right now, their best players might be in the backfield. I hope Eckler's ready to go Sunday. Who knows? But Eckler and Brian Robinson Jr. are other threats. I think we'll still see Sinnott become something this year. But for the right price, yes, because what you said is so true. Like, every NFL season's so different. Like, we don't know that the 49ers are going to be healthy enough to be the juggernaut that they've been in the last few years. Philly and Dallas look vulnerable right now. Detroit lost to Tampa, who then lost to Denver. Every season's so different. Right now, offensively, there's something going on with this group that's going to give them a chance, I think, in a lot of games. So, yeah, if it made sense, sure. But I would also be cognizant of the long term. Like, as much as I want them to be good this year, I don't want them to think they're a player away from winning the Super Bowl and overspend.
And Kevin, I want to ask you, and this is about Cliff Kingsbury, who I was kind of confused about the hate that he some of the stuff I was reading about him when we hired him. A lot of people had big reservations about him, and I understand that as a head coach, but as an offensive mind, I've always been fond of Cliff. I mean, going back to his Texas Tech days, I mean, even with Arizona, Kyler Murray got paid over there under Cliff Kingsbury, and a lot of people were, kind of hesitant and, saying things about his offense. But as we can see early on, he's in sync with Jaden Daniels. And it almost kind of reminds me of 2012 with Kyle Shanahan and RG3 and how he kind of set RG3 up for success that year. First question, do you think that what we are seeing from Cliff Kingsbury is sustainable? And two, do you think it's kind of fair to kind of compare him to that younger stage of the Kyle Shanahan?
Yeah, I do. I think look, if you told me we get Mike and Kyle and Sean and Matt LaFleur back with Jaden, I'd take that. But I'm with you. Like, I was a fan of Cliff Kingsbury from afar. I know people that know him in the college game that say that he's one of the most highly respected creative minds in the game, especially when it comes to, working with young quarterbacks. And look, the college game has been in the NFL game now for a decade plus. And Jaden is a true dual threat quarterback. But beyond that, he's more than that because he's an excellent pocket guy. He can make every throw. And I love the combination. I think he's bringing him along slowly. But I think even after the Tampa game, I was not about to say, oh, it wasn't creative enough, or there wasn't enough this, or motion, or, formations. It's a work in progress. Cliff knows what he's doing. And I think he is a good fit for a quarterback like Jaden. The key is, beyond the skill set and the, whatever the coordinator is good at doing or wants to do, is that coach really has a student that's coachable, that's teachable, that there's a chemistry there. And by the way, the coach has to adapt to what his guy does best too. And I think we're starting to see some of that.
One thing that I'm so excited about, I said this on the show last night, fellas, but Kevin, when you get a top 3 overall, obviously Jaden is drafted at number 2. When you get a top 3 overall draft pick, you don't. It's when you're getting some efficiency and production early into the season. Like you don't need to wait, or you shouldn't have to wait until like the end of a season or even the next year or 2 years from now to know like if you got a guy. And I think for the first 3 weeks of the season, you've seen Jaden Daniels progress from week 1 to week 2, from week 2 to week 3 as a player. What he's saying on the field, how he's reacting to things on the field, and his composure. Now I always thought he was composed, but more so like his actual readiness to throw the football versus like taking off the run. And I think for Washington, I think there's been out of these 3 games, moments in all 3 games where you're looking at this guy and you're saying, yeah, this guy could have been the number 1 overall draft pick. No question, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like he's shown and flashed elite traits in several different areas of his game. And I think that's different when I compare to now. It's not fair specifically to Chase, but I mean, also Chase was a number 2 overall draft pick, different positions, but it is what it is. Like you don't have to question for 2 or 3 years if he's the guy when you're getting Jaden in the first couple games and you're saying, or you're seeing exactly what you wanted to see out of the person that you drafted that high.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's different, right? I mean, look at the quarterback position. How many guys have been written off only to, find a new spot with a new group and excel? I mean, we're seeing that this year with guys like Sam Darnold and, Malik Willis. I mean, this past weekend, some of the best quarterback performances of the weekend were Sam Darnold, Andy Dalton, Malik Willis, Bo Nix. Like, it's crazy. And that's the thing about the NFL. We always talk in such certainties. And the truth is there's nothing certain about this league. And, the comparison I always make with respect to, like, fit, in basketball, there are a million guys that can spot up and shoot threes. But it's like getting in that right place. I've had this conversation with Tim Legler so many times. I'm like, imagine if you had come along at a time where, instead of John Paxson or Steve Kerr, the Bulls needed a shooter and you were the one that was around. You would have had that kind of a career. It's like right time, right spot, right mix. And I think with some players, it takes a while. By the way, I was watching Chase Young the other day. This is a young guy who, first of all, did get injured, probably had some maturity issues. By the way, a lot of us had at 20, 21, 22 years old. He looked great Sunday for New Orleans. Like, I'm kind of from afar rooting for him to get his act together. It sucks if he ends up being a good player and not here, given that, we took number 2 overall. But I don't know that you do know right away. I think I think from an intelligence, from a, coachability standpoint, sometimes you have a good sense of that stuff. But man, in that league and at certain positions, it can take a lot of time. Look, Geno Smith written off, for all those years. Jacoby Brissett written off for all those years. I mean, Geno Smith throws the balls. I mean, he can really sling it. And he's in a good system. He's got support. He's got a great, receiving core. It's weird that we don't learn from that guy stinks. He'll never be any good. And then we have too many examples of 3-4 years later. It's like, whoa, how did he turn out to be decent?
Well, just one thing, which one? Because I just wanted to be clear, like with I don't disagree with what you're saying at all, but more so like the side of like your top draft picks, right? I'm thinking of like your number 1 overalls, your number 2 overalls, your number 3 overalls. Like Geno, great example. And even like if there's a system that fits other quarterbacks like that's selected outside of the top 10, or outside of the top 15. in either other position as well. I think those work. And even I would even ask the question about the situation with what's the Bryce Young in Carolina. Like, is he in the right situation for him? Like, of course, like you may need some time to figure out like if that works out. But I think there's like some traits that flash early on with certain players. Like if you get drafted that high, you shouldn't have to wait that long. Like I think
But
even
Baker needed to. Darnold needed to. I mean,
I ain't gonna
they're
lie to you.
top.
I thought Baker. I ain't gonna lie to you. This is my opinion. I thought when Greg Williams came in and he had what's the dude with the three names that was the offensive coordinator.
Which team?
When he was in Cleveland.
With Cleveland. Oh,
yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, Freddie Kitchens, maybe. I don't know if that was him.
Freddie Kitchens became the head coach, right?
Okay,
yeah.
So whoever their offensive coordinator was, right, and they started running the 12 personnel, the max protections, Baker's cooking as a rookie. I think those things, like, I think it's all about. Sometimes it could be about system fit.
Sure.
But I think overall, like, there's something that flashed with Baker is where I'm getting at. Like, as a rookie, like there's certain things where you got it in a certain person. You just have to find the things that can draw it out of them. And maybe it is environment, but I think you see it early on. You don't have to wait so long.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, like, I think about Bryce Young, and he is in one of the worst situations. I mean, Carolina's become the new Washington. You know, David Tepper has replaced Snyder as the worst owner in the league, one of the worst owners in all of sports, and it's a bad situation for him. But there's also something about Bryce Young that you can't coach, and no situation's going to change, and that is he's 5'9", you know, and 190 pounds. And the number of quarterbacks sub 6 feet that have ever really started a significant number of years, it's like 4 quarterbacks, you know, over the last like 35, 40 years or something, sub 6 feet. So that's an issue. But yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing. I don't know that any, you know, kind of size fits all. And there's no patience. Yeah. We know that in this day and age, there's no patience. You know, if you're drafted that high, you got to play, and you got to do something pretty quickly, or you get people fired.
Yeah, I was going to touch on, you know, we talked about draft picks and their situations and stuff. Well, there's a situation defensively where we know what they are currently, and that's ass. Excuse my language, but yeah, they're ass at this point. How do you personally feel about this defense 3 weeks in, and do you see this trending in a different direction as the season progresses, or staying about the same?
I don't know,
or
man.
Worse. I don't even know if you can get worse.
No, I'm shocked that it's this bad. I mean, it's early. Like we talk about, it's week to week. But I think when Devin Singletary and Daniel Jones come in and get healthy, you know, on you last week. Now, look, they've got a receiver for the first time. That dude is legit. Like Malik Neighbors is going to be the next thing. You know, one of those next 3, 4 top 5 guys. But and then last night, I mean, Moss and Chase Brown, they were getting gashed. Something's not right. And I was really expecting something totally different. Again, it's only 3 games, but I thought last year was really, in many ways, guys, doomed before the year started. You had a lame duck head coach. You had a bad situation with coordinators. You had players that knew they were working for coaches that weren't going to be there. And I chalked up, you know, going from top 10 defense in 2022 to dead last or close to dead last year to a lot of it on sort of the environment. And so I thought Quinn, Joe Witt Jr., Ken Norton, all of them coming in, that all these guys would be coached up better. And then they added some pieces. I mean, I think Wagner and Luvu have actually been pretty decent. Chin was always a good player, healthy. I thought John and Duran would end up stepping up and having years similar to 2022. But it starts with stopping the run. In the NFL, if you can't stop the run, you're in big trouble. And they make up for it by not being able to cover and not being able to rush the passer. Like, it's a bad situation right now. And, you know, you can look at last night and you can say, okay, well, how many Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase teams are you going to play? The answer is not many, but Daniel Jones and Devin Singletary and Malik Neighbors were running right through them. So I hope it can improve, but personnel appears to be a part of it. And if that's the major part of it, what can they actually do? You know, I don't know.
Yeah,
That's a hard one.
That's the concern for me, because it's like I went into this thinking this is the first time Dan Quinn is going to have two stalwarts in a sense as far as D tackles, but you're not even seeing the impact there. I knew the pass rush would be what it is, which is nothing. But I mean, Joe Witt Jr. is literally calling everything in the book, and they're not getting home. They're not
close.
stopping the run. He's tried different variations, as we seen last night. Move Mike Sanderstrell to the outside, move Noah inside, and the result is still the same. So it's like,
Yeah.
what?
I don't know.
I can't even blame coaching at this rate. It's just you don't have the players, and it is what it is.
I don't know what you guys have talked about. I actually think Duran's not playing poorly. Like, he's taken on a lot of doubles. We don't know what their responsibilities are, if whether or not it's like sort of gap control, tie up blockers, let other people make the plays. 94, even more than Allen, should be impactful. He's the true physical freak talent. And I don't think he's played badly. I want more from him, but they can't stop the run for whatever reason. And if you can't stop the run and you can't make the other team one-dimensional, when you don't have guys that can cover and you don't have natural pass rushers, it's a problem. Unless you're playing bad offensive teams. And who do they have coming up? Kyler Murray and company. Okay, Cleveland, Deshaun Watson right now, not very good. But then what are they going to do with Lamar and Derrick Henry in a few weeks?
Not a damn thing. Get prepared to head back to Dulles.
So your defense has to be your offense right now. You know, they did that against the Giants. They did it last night. You know, it's funny. Jaden in college last year played on a team that was awful defensively. LSU was the worst defense in the SEC. And a lot of the talk about Jaden's running and his risk-taking was because he couldn't afford to punt. It was like if they punted, they were down another score. And that's why he played with some risk last year. Well, here he is in the NFL playing with one of the worst defensive teams. And once again, they can't punt. The good news is they haven't punted in 2 games. So they almost have to keep that up, which, you know, offensively, they've been pretty impressive. I think they're going to be able to score.
Kevin, I was going to say, I think the only break they got coming up is against Cleveland and Carolina. That's probably the only breaks.
Let's not count out
Carolina isn't Bryce in Carolina.
Facts. I'll just say you maybe get like 2 or 3 points. You just got to score when you get the ball back.
Yeah.
Hey, Kevin, I want to ask you something that's kind of near and dear to me as a fan from the 80s, diehard fan from the 80s. Something that has bothered me, obviously, since Dan Snyder has kind of come in and ruined the franchise, is that the division rivalries don't necessarily exist for this team anymore. But after watching last night, I see the excitement coming back. I see, you know, we may be able to bring guns to these fights now. Do you foresee a path to us kind of getting back in that conversation with the Eagles and the Cowboys as big rivalries in this division with a Jaden Daniels?
You know, that's such an interesting subject because I'm with you on that. Like, I think a big part of your fandom and the passion, like the emotion that you have in your team, also is being part of, like, for the lack of a better description, like a small family, which the NFC East has been for so long. But we've been, you know, the outlier. You know, Philly doesn't care about us. They care about Dallas and the Giants. The Giants don't care about us. They care about Philly and Dallas. Dallas cares much more about Philly than they care about us. And that's not just teams and franchises. That's fan bases, man. It's changed. You know, you go back to that time, Washington and Dallas wasn't just the best rivalry in the division. It was the best rivalry in football. It was a top 5 rivalry in sports. And that kind of emotion wrapped into those, stories and traditions, I think is so important in sports. And the Snyder era, that was another loss from that era. I would love it to come back, but for it to come back, you have to be good, sustain good, and then you've got to have, meaningful big games against those teams again, late in the season, potentially in the postseason. That's what builds it back up, where all of a sudden they realize they got to beat you just as much as you got to beat them. And, we've been in last place more than anybody in this division. We've been a laughing stock for so long that the rest of the division lost interest in their games, not to mention that you go from a venue in the 80s that was as good as any in the league, and it wasn't a true road game for a lot of these teams when they came to Landover. I'm with you, though. That's a big part of what I think would bring a lot of people back too. There's a lot of nostalgia built into those things, and people, it's nostalgia is like a magnet sometimes. It pulls people back. So I'd like to see that become important again.
Yes, sir.
Kevin, I appreciate you joining us for the time that you did, man. I want to give you the floor to plug anything. I mean, well, we did plug you in at the beginning, but anything and everything that we may have missed for you.
No, you're nice. I enjoyed being with you guys, but the radio show on the Team 980, 10 to 1 every day, and via the Odyssey app, and my podcast, which I do with Livero twice a week. Cooley comes on with me, during football season occasionally.
So you're doing your own film sessions too, man. You're doing your own film sessions. Yeah.
Right before I called into you guys, he just called me and he said, and he goes, "So what happened last night?" I'm like, I need you to just at least watch Jaden and call in with like an opinion. So he's going to try to do that. But yeah, no, I enjoyed being on. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Kevin, quick question. Are you attending any games this year?
That's a good question. I went last year to the opener because I really wanted to see and take part kind of in what was like a celebration of Dan being gone, right? I just, for all those years I did the pregame show from the stadium, and occasionally I would stay, but I hate that stadium just as much as so many other people do. But, give me like a big game against the Cowboys late in the season for first place in the division, or the Eagles, and I'll want to go out there to feel that again. It's been a long time.
What about the Ravens game at M&T Bank?
You know what? I've actually that's something I'm interested in doing. I've been to M&T Bank for a couple games. That's a great environment. So that would be a good one. Sometimes, it's funny how the fans of NFL teams, it's like road games almost are as fun to go to as home games are. Like, you see a lot of these stadiums.
I love going to the road games.
By road fans, yeah.
All right. Okay, so I think well, shoot, we might end up going. Well, you already got your tickets, so I guess I'm the one that's lagging. I say I'm the one that's lagging behind.
You just got to meet us. The what is it? The Beltway Takeover. I guess.
Beltway Takeover.
The Battle of the Beltway. However they call it.
Oh yeah, battle. I was about to say Battle of the Beltways. Okay, cool.
Battle of the Beltway is in 3 weeks. So
yeah, that would be.
Me and Jamal will be there. I hate FedEx Field just like you, so I don't plan on attending anything at FedEx Field, but. Definitely want to see this battle between Jaden Daniels and Lamar Jackson.
I was looking at the home schedule. They got the Browns, and the Panthers, but the Bears fans could certainly come in and take it over. And then you got back to back. I think Steelers, Cowboys, Eagles as home games. Those are the 3 worst opponents.
Yeah, they take over our stadium.
Yeah, especially if they're good late in the season. But look, this year we got a chance to have legitimate games that matter late in the season, and that's that's nice. I actually was looking at the schedule too to see Jaden's an attraction. So the networks are going to start looking to see flex opportunities for some of these games, especially if they've got a competitive record.
Like that Atlanta game.
December, I could see, 1 or 2 games getting flexed to a Sunday night.
Can't wait.
Like that Atlanta game, man, or Philly. Right after that, that's gonna be a good little mix up right there.
Yeah, man, it's because of Jaden. I mean, this guy has some star power. If he keeps playing this way.
Absolutely.
Hey, man, Kevin, like I said, I appreciate you joining us. If you are in Baltimore, man, I don't know if you drink whiskey or nothing, or maybe tequila. I don't know what your choice is, but I got a drink wait for you. Just let us know something.
I'm always available for a drink. So I'd love to join you for one. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
All right,
Kevin. Take care. Be safe, boss, man.
Take care.
Good.
You too.
All right, there is Kevin Sheehan of the team. Oh, what we got right here? All right, there we go. Team 980. And the Kevin Sheehan podcast, all that good stuff. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for us. We're gonna try and get our guy on Thursday. No names. I want to say no names until we.
We're gonna try to get Casper on Thursday.
Now, I want to make sure we confirm this before we before we put it out there. Otherwise, we'll we'll spin the block with a game preview show anyway, so it don't even matter. But that's gonna wrap it up for us, fellas. Good show. We'll be back on Thursday. All 32 is back on tomorrow. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
Sir.